Good morning, it's Saturday, it's 9 o'clock, and I've just arrived at Stretford parkrun. It's a lovely and wet one today, and I'm also not feeling very well, so not sure how this one's going to go. I've been up in Bolton playing pickleball for the last few days, hence I'm doing one up here, so thought I'd find one locally, see how it is. So I've never done this one, so let's see, and I'll be reviewing the accessibility around the course, so let's get on with it.
To park here, you can use the Longford Park car park along Rybank Road. It's free to park here, and they have 3 blue badge spaces. One of these did appear to stay empty the whole time that I was there, so hopefully there would be space if you visit. There are also general spaces in this car park, however it is quite small, and this park run usually gets a high number of people, so I would suggest getting here nice and early. I arrived at around 8:20, at which point the car park was fairly empty. The car park is right next to the athletics track, which is where the park run meet, start and finishes. The public toilets for the park run are not accessible here. However, I spoke to people running the coffee shack, and they offered me to use the accessible toilet in the athletics building. This is normally kept shut to park runners. However, the building is unlocked. You just need to move the sign covering the door to get in. Just make sure to put it back after so others don't go in. Inside there is a separate male and female accessible toilet. It's very basic but nice and clean, and you don't need a radar key to get in here. Onto the course itself. Everyone was huddled today under any shelter until the very start. The new timers briefing normally takes place on the track, but today was up some stairs or up the ramp to be slightly undercover. Then the actual start briefing takes place over at the start line, which is in the top left of the athletics track, over by the marked out 100-meter start point. You then go around the track in an anti-clockwise direction for around a lap and a half. You then exit the athletics track at the place you entered from the car park. You take a right past the accessible spaces into the main park. I had a brief pause here, as I had started off with my hat and waterproof on to try and keep dry and warm where I was not too well today. However, realised very quickly I became too hot for this, so dumped it all by my car. As you enter into the main park, you pass through some bollards. These are covered in parkrun high vis to make them obvious, and there is plenty of space between them to pass. The surface along here is tarmac pathing, and it does stay on this the whole time. Due to all the rain we had before this, it was quite puddled all the way around. You continue along this path until you take a left turn onto the avenue. Along here it is a switchback path, so the path is coned down the middle with faster park runners coming back on the other side. Due to this, it is a lot narrower along here, and especially on lap 1 is quite busy. It's around 200 metres along here, till you then take it 180 degrees at the turnaround point. I did have to slow right down here to ensure I can make it around this turn okay, but it was plenty wide enough to make it easily. As you go back along here, try and stick to the middle, just to the side of the cones, as there are some benches located to the left of this path that stick out slightly. Once you have completed this switchback path, you take a left onto another path which bends to the right. There will be a children's play park over to your left before you take another left, again going through some bollards. These are marked up with the high vis, but they are slightly harder to navigate because you approach them at a sort of diagonal, meaning you then need to turn yourself slightly to get through them. Here you are joining onto a road past the cafe and houses. This is a live road, however it seemed to just be for access to the houses and a small car park, so there wasn't really any traffic, and there are plenty of marshals there to keep you safe. There are some annoying speed bumps to navigate. The first few are along the entire width of the path, so unavoidable. Then there are a couple which are just single bumps over to the left of the path, so if you stick over to the right you can avoid these ones. As you reach the car park, you then join back into the park path. With all the rain, there was a massive puddle on the road to go through. There was a pavement to the left, which the runners all went on to avoid this, but it was not a drop curb, so I had to take it through this massive puddle. I'd already got fairly wet to this point already on the course, and after this there was no going back. But on a positive note, this did mean I gave up on avoiding the puddles totally, so I just happily went through all the remaining puddles through the middle around the rest of the course. Now that you're back on the park path, it continues to be a nice smooth tarmac. Over to the right of this path is a disc golf course. You follow this path in a clockwise direction all the way around this course. This part was a lovely part for me. Aside from the odd puddling, it was completely smooth and flat, with no real camber. There I picked up a nice bit of speed along here, so I was getting super quick. Once you reach the top corner of the disc course, you take a 90-degree turn along the path to continue following the disc course, which stays over to your right. Along here, you'll then have some playfields and football pitches over to your left. You'll then reach on some joining paths, which you take the one to the left, before you then turn right, where you'll be going alongside the outside fencing of the athletics track. You continue all the way along here till you reach back to the car park area, where the initial bollards were, which you'll now be passing over to your left. After lap 1, you don't go through these bollards, you just keep them over to your left, and turn right to start back on the same route again. You complete the full course again. I will speed up this until we get to the close of it. As you do the switchback part of this course, it is quieter in lap 2, but still just take it easy. My general thoughts on this park run is that the surface throughout is lovely. Aside from the odd part where it's a bit busy, there is nothing really that slowed me down too much. It was just a bit of puddling and the fact that I was not very well that slowed me down today. So I think on a dry day, and when I'm fully well, I would have been quite rapid here. Probably not quite PB level, but fairly close to my current PB time. So if I'm ever up here again when it's drier, I might come back and try it again. So back onto the course. This is where we are going back alongside the outside of the athletics track. I'll slow back the footage as we're doing new bits again. So at the end here, you're approaching the car park and bollards. So on this second lap, you then turn left back through the bollards with the car park over to your right. Take another left to enter back into the stadium. You now follow this around in a clockwise direction, completing roughly half of the lap around to the top right corner by the hammer net. You pass through the finish line where the funnel continues straight along the athletics track, where you grab your finish token, and the scanners are also located on this hard standing athletics track. So in all weather, it's nice and easy and accessible to get here. Today I finished in position 335 out of 480 park runners, in a time of 29 minutes and 45 seconds.
So that's parkrun done for the day here from Stretford. A very wet and muddy day, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. The course itself is very accessible, and if it wasn't so wet and if I probably wasn't feeling so rough, I probably would have been fairly quick today. But I am now very wet, very muddy, and very cold, so I'm going to go and get myself nice and dry and clean. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you've done this one, and make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one next week.